the role of government intervention in markets and its effects on efficiency and equity is what we are going to be taking a look at right now. And Sarah and I have the pleasure of being joined by a renowned analyst, Dayo Lomuwagun. He is a chartered accountant and a public affairs analyst. Dayo, welcome aboard this morning.
Thank you so much. My pleasure to be here.
Yes,
Thank you so much for joining us.
All right, Sarah, you want to have a go at it?
Yes, talking about this important topic, the role of government intervention in markets and its effect on efficiency and equity. The first thing that comes to my mind this morning is, especially with our current reality, it is so difficult for businesses to thrive in the marketplace. So as a chartered accountant and public affairs analyst, I would like to ask, what are some of the strategies that businesses can adopt at this very critical time to mitigate the impact that inflation is having on individual businesses?
I think we are in challenging time in the country, and the economy is not what it used to be. Like you rightly observed, a couple of businesses have, folded up, and a couple of them have disappeared from the shores of the country because of the harshness of the economic environment where they have to play in. But having said that, I think to some extent, if you look at it this way, some costs can be pushed back to the consumer.
Okay.
Some costs cannot be pushed back to them. So I think the first principle, the first law would be for businesses to be very efficient. Very efficient in that whatever wastages, whatever unnecessary expenses you are incurring, cut them off.
Okay.
It could be as little as things around paper, printing in the office. It could be something as little as staple pin for stapler. Now, you want to maximize whatever you have in terms of your resources, making sure that, so you have cost center for everything. So it does not matter whether it's stationary or whether it's in production you are doing, you are just monitoring your cost, that only the minimum, only the required cost is incurred. So there's something they call a cost indicator, monitor, that you can use to monitor your cost in accounting. I hope I remember. So you ensure that that cost is wholly incurred for the purpose of your business. It's wholly incurred, it's reasonably incurred. So something that costs 15 naira, then somebody comes to your business and say he got it for you, or at 16 naira, or at 52 naira, and you won't ask questions of the same quality. And so whether it's reasonably incurred, whether it's exclusively incurred for this business, or some people are benefiting somewhere, and whether it's necessarily incurred, you still have some item in stock, and then but because the procurement manager has an uncle that deal in that good, in that stock, then he goes ahead to still buy and load a warehouse of stuff that he doesn't even need. So he got it for your business, but not necessarily at that moment. So I think my first shot at it would be, let businesses go extra mile in efficiency, their efficiency level, incurring costs that are only necessary, reasonable and all that to incur. Now, having said that, the space is simpler. Even the buying powers of the consumer has gone down so badly, and so you need to increase. You may want to increase prices, but even as you are doing that, you want to be conscious that it's still within the reach of people. So you won't say because prices are going up and you just increase your price unreasonably because everybody is increasing price. That is not the way to go. So I think businesses that want to try that in times of the arrangement around, whether it's financial arrangement, for example, look at it, whether it really makes sense, for example, to go and borrow to run business in Nigeria. Now, do you still want to borrow? Can you survive under the burden of debt, where the interest rate is hitting the roof, going to 25%, going to 30%? Can you conveniently push it back to the price of the good, and the people will buy, your consumers, your buyers will buy? So all of these things needed to be properly itemized. And for example, is this safe? Is it economically okay to still produce? So because if the same good we are producing in Nigeria, and I'm not saying this so that there will be productivity in Nigeria. So in my factory, I can produce something at the cost of 50 naira, at the cost of 500 naira, for example.
All right, let me come in.
Nearby, maybe in Ghana or in Cotonou there, somebody can produce it for me at 15 naira. Yes.
All right, so I was just going to come in here, right? Just for a little background, government intervention in markets is a critical tool in shaping economic outcomes, especially in countries like Nigeria. You know, I mean, here we face lots of economic challenges. Take, for example, the removal of subsidy in 2023. Take, for example, again, what's happening between Aliko Dangote and IOCs. The topic again is the role of government intervention in markets. Now, I remember we had a guest, Segun Shopinto, a renowned economist, on our sister station yesterday, and he kept calling on President Tinubu as the incumbent president to intervene in the impasse between Dangote and oil marketers. This is an example of government intervention, right? I want to have your take on it.
So I think generally, I mean, depending on the economy you're operating from, generally in the world today, you have most economies are mixed economy. Neither total capitalism, neither total socialism. I mean, I'm not sure you still have socialism around the world. So there's mixed economy, where at some point government is allowed to intervene. Now, ordinarily, the role of government in an economy is to provide the enabling environment, so where businesses can run and things can run at their own pace. Allow businessmen to make reasonable profit and all of that. But when it comes to some critical aspects, some critical items, some critical times, the government can as well intervene if it's going to destroy the economy, if it's going to destroy the economy. So, for example, issue of issue of crude and fuel in the country is a key item, is a key product that if Nigeria doesn't get it wrong, we are going to be in trouble. In fact, partially part of the reason we are in trouble in the country today is because we don't have the fear that we consume everything. We import it at so much exorbitant prices and all of that, and that has affected our transportation system, affected our prices in the market. Everybody's in trouble. So those kind of economic good, the government has the duty to intervene as and at when necessary.
Okay.
Regardless of whether the business people are in business to make money. If the profit making of one man is going to jeopardize the welfare of a generality, hundreds of billions of people, then the government got to intervene. So government can intervene as at when necessary. But ordinarily, we expect that government will just provide the enabling environment.
Okay. All right. Let's still in businesses. Let's touch on taxation. It's a very big deal. We just even saw what happened in Kenya in regards to the finance bill, the 2024 finance bill, and this was going to also increase the taxes, where they took to the street to protest. Lives were lost, people were injured. However, the president, William Ruto, withdrew the bill for the meantime. Let's come to Nigeria now. Talking about government intervention policies, I would like to throw this out to you. How effective are the current government policies that are set out and put in place to address the issue of taxation, tax evasion, tax compliance, everything that has to do with tax in Nigeria?
And thank you for the question. I think with all due respect for the people in government, with all due respect for my senior colleague and junior colleagues in FRS and in the task in the regulatory bodies in the country, with all due respect, you see, the truth about taxation, about the economy is a hungry man is an angry man. And that is what you see played out in Kenya. So you ask me to come and pay taxes, and I pay taxes. Your duty as government is to use those taxes to provide a good environment, to provide healthcare services, to provide good roads, to provide education, quality education, and all of that for me. And every year, every month, I pay taxes. But I don't seem to get those things. That is what we saw in Kenya. That is the outcry now. Not that the people don't want to pay taxes. In places like UK and all that, you pay taxes as high as 35, 40, for something percent of your earning. And people are paying. Yeah, why? Because at the end of the day, the system works. What the government is expected to use that money for, they use it for it. And they're paid willingly. You can't even evade it. But in Nigeria, for example, and in some African countries, where is the motivation to pay taxes? You see, the running of government, and apologies, I mean, to the few people in government who are working tirelessly to ensure that the benefit of governance get to the people. But you have a situation where you pay taxes from your hard-earned money, from your sweat. And it only looked like in Nigeria and South African country that the rich who are fortunate, who are opportune to be in government, just use the sweat of the people as bathing water, as water they use to rinse their mouth. They lavish it on their excesses and all of that. So, as a common man on the street, you ask yourself, is it still right to pay taxes? And so, having mentioned that, I come back to my point. So, the point is, if we are going to run a country, then we got to pay taxes. Between tax evasion and tax avoidance. I mean, under the law, tax avoidance is allowed. It's managed. It's part of tax management. So if I see loophole in tax, because nobody wants to pay tax anywhere. So, but the question is, are there loopholes that people can make them not to pay tax or to pay minimum tax? That is allowed. But to say you don't want to pay tax at all is a crime under the law. You can't live in the country, use our road, go to the hospital. I mean, whatever you have, use it in the country has provided, use it and say you won't pay taxes. You got to pay tax. So in times of evasion and avoidance, yes, the people are trying, the government is trying, FRS is trying, the tax people are trying, but I think there's still a lot of ground to cover in Nigeria. A lot of people, in fact, currently I can tell you for free, the people that are in the tax net, they are the people that are not to be in the tax net and are not in the tax net. They are far more than people who are already in the tax net. So even if you don't increase taxes, even if you reduce taxes and go and make sure that everybody pay taxes, the people that due to pay taxes, will be fine in Nigeria. I always make a case everywhere I go that look, you say there's unemployment in the country, for example. What are we doing about it? Go to FIRS. How many companies and organizations are filing their taxes every year, are filing the right taxes? That organization is, under supported in times of human resource. You can still employ thousands and thousands of Nigerians, and they will run after this company, collect what is right, pay their own salaries from there, and still have some things from government. So in times of avoidance and yes, evasion, let me say evasion. Avoidance is okay. It depends on what the government says they are not. So, but in times of evasion is wrong, is criminal. But the government and the tax authority can do more. Not burden the people further. The loyal, the honest Nigerians who are paying taxes, don't bother them further, if not necessary. But run after those people who are trying to evade taxes. I think that's my comment.
Yes, so for the purpose of clarity, what's the difference between tax evasion and tax avoidance?
Evasion is complete defiance that you won't pay tax and you run away. So running away from taxes, you all kinds of manipulation, illegal stuff to ensure that you won't pay taxes. Avoidance is saying there are some lacunas in the law. There are some loopholes in the law, in the tax law in the country, that if I use my creative accounting and I manage properly, I will not have paid some taxes, but it wouldn't have been criminal because the law has not criminalized it. So I can work on the loophole in the tax laws, for example, and pay minimum tax and pay just reasonably, just a little tax. Because the government has not done the tax body has not done a good work in terms of the tax law. But to say I won't pay at all is criminal, and use all kinds of manipulations to do that.
Right.
Okay.
I'm still talking about economy at large. I would like to come down to a very important issue that ever since that decision was taken, it looks like everything in Nigeria just nosedived. Talking about the subsidy removal. Now, the government has put up certain social programs. State governments, federal government at large have come up with different social programs to help cushion the effect of the subsidy removal on the economy at large. And this has really affected low-income households. In fact, away from low-income households, it affected everybody. So how would you rate the effectiveness of these social intervention programs put together by the government? And is it really reaching the target audience in your perspective?
You see, unfortunately, this is where we have found ourselves in Nigeria. I was on another platform earlier this morning making some comments along this line to say the people that need this social intervention, I can tell you for free, less than 50% of them get it at the end of the day. And that's just to lavish my figure on behalf of the government. So it's not even up to 50%. I can guarantee you it's not 50%. We are in Nigeria where, you remember what happened during the COVID-19, where people were almost going to, going to the street, demonstrate, riot, because the food meant to be for intervention was locked up in warehouses all over the country. Politicians brand it in their own name as though it's their money. Money got in from our taxes and our fees that we pay to government. But the same time, around that time, I have people in France. I have people in Canada. My brother told me that in Canada, you just press the bell in your house. You just make a contact, and within 2-3 hours, food will arrive in front of your doorstep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes. And you just get food. You're not expected to pay. It is the subsidy intervention from the government.
Right, interesting.
To cushion the effect of the COVID-19. But here in Nigeria, we lock it up in warehouses months after, until some of them began to expire, and people, when they were really famished, they begin to burst the pipeline, since they say it's always in the pipeline. They begin to look for the pipeline to burst.
Right. This.
So what am I saying?
Okay.
So this intervention does not get to the people, and because it is designed to be so that it can go back to the politician and their allies. We know all this truth.
Okay.
What if you were, for example, in Nigeria, now there's hardship in the country. Okay. People cannot even feed. You're not even, are not even able to get one meal a day. If you really want to intervene for that, what should you do? Get food banks everywhere. They tried it in Lagos. Get food banks everywhere. Maybe in each local government, give 1 or 2 food banks. Put all kinds of food, subsidized food. The bag of rice that sells for 60,000 or 50,000 in the market, put it there for 10,000 naira. Instead of saying you want to give us 25,000, that will never get to us. That will go back to the politician. Put it there. Look for good and honest men to manage it for you, so that people manage it and it gets to the people who really need food. Not the one you put and tomorrow we'll see it in the market.
Okay, Dayo Lomuwagun, you just gave very, very valid points. You see that thing of good and honest men, that is the part of accountability and someone to keep the process so that it gets to the right channel. But unfortunately, we have to wrap up the conversation because our time is fast spent. But I assure you, we'll definitely have you again, to talk about this some other time. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.